Hello, everyone. We'll take like a minute or so. We'll let other people join and then we'll start.
Okay.
All right. So the ones who have joined and the ones who are joining, Salamat Siang, Indonesia. I'm very excited to, conduct this webinar, which is on mobile engagement strategies adopted by fast-growing companies and fast-growing app companies primarily. And, this interesting webinar on this special topic is being conducted by Netcore Cloud. And so let me just give you a quick gist of, how we are going to take this up. So in the initial 20 to 25 minutes, I am the host for you, and I'll be taking you through a series of slides which talks about how a lot of brands have adopted concepts around product-led growth, around contextual nudges and walkthroughs, and how interestingly they were able to deploy this. In the second part, we will be joined by Esther, Mayank, and Chiranjeevi. Mayank as in the other Mayank. So they are heading product or marketing technology in their organization, and I'll give a quick introduction about them in the second half. All in all, it will be a quick fireside chat with them. They will talk about their ideas, strategies that they've adopted, and how it has helped their organization grow. So all in all, let's get started. I'm pretty excited to talk about this. So to start with, we'll talk about today's very important topic, which is PLG. And when we talk about how fast growing app companies are growing, they have definitely adopted PLG as all-in-all concept, which is slightly different. PLG, if I say, that's product-led growth, which if I talk about is slightly different from a traditional sales-led growth or a marketing-led growth. So a sales-led growth or a marketing-led growth would be, let's say, if you go to a mall and there's a sales guy who meets you and he greets you and finally he helps you with explaining the product and give you the expectation on the services side, and then it is being sold. Lot of brands traditionally, and marketing-led growth, maybe there is Coca-Cola or a lot of these FMCG brands who have these large banners, and majorly it is driven by the kind of marketing they do. Then comes the PLG part, which is the I would say the next gen is shifting towards the PLG, where they would like to first feel the product. They would want to see the product, experience the product, and then maybe from a freemium they become a premium user, or from a customer they become a loyal customer. From a just a person who would have come and browsed your website or app, they become your engaged customer. So, and how this has come in, because marketing budgets with time has gone limited. Growth is everyone's goal, and there has to be a lot of growth hacking techniques that we need to adopt to understand the way of life. Okay, so what is product-led growth? So in detail, further to it, if I have to talk about it, it's everything to do with from the channel, which is starting from acquisition to retention to churn to beyond that, and wherever how interestingly we can engage with our customers when they are actually having that maximum attention. And the maximum attention is when they are actually using your product, when they are on your website, when they are on your platform, on your app, when they're experiencing it. How differently we can engage with them is the whole product-led growth strategy is what it talks about. So a little bit more on product-led growth, let's maybe understand who are the brands who have adopted this at scale, like Airtable, Figma, Slack, HubSpot, Zoom. Zoom is the one which we are using right now, guys. Pinterest, Netflix, Dropbox. So all of them, if you look at, they have this very interesting freemium model, which makes them, first of all, use the product. So before we get into the final loyalty piece of it, right, the retention piece of it, it is about how we can get them activated, how beautifully they have, one is acquired the customer, given them the quick value about the product, and have them experienced about it. So Product end-to-end becomes that, primary growth driver from the acquisition to expansion to retention, and will help all of will help the kind of retention that we need. So what is all about product-led growth? It's about giving that aha moment, right? So that value proposition, that's the aha moment when the user is experiencing your product. So let's say if I open Zoom, right? And earlier we were using Skype, we were using and then there is Microsoft Teams. There are a lot of other functions and brands or companies that we were using to have these kind of conversations. But then there is Zoom, who makes it very, very convenient and very easy for a person to use. They in fact take up a lot of these feedbacks and they change it time and again. For example, let's say there were lot to do with data retention, and also they ensured those changes are being considered. And on the product side of it, on the services side of it, they become top notch. And then it becomes viral. Like if you look at all these brands, they don't do much of marketing or sales. If you look at it's majorly on the kind of philosophy they follow, which is on PLG, which is making that kind of virality by showing the product, by making user experience the product, so that they can get into that viral zone, that they go back to their family and friends and also ask them to please experience this. And be very, very customer driven based on the feedback. Like I gave the Zoom example, they take the kind of data, they take the kind of inputs, and based on that reiterate, experiment, and keep improving. And keep improving would mean, and this is I think a agenda on any product manager's hit list, which is test, measure, learn, and this has to be done repeatedly. Every week maybe there's one experiment that you might want to do to ensure that you are always understanding the user behavior, what is working best for them, and keep reiterating. All right, so why do we want to even discuss all this, right? So product-led growth, this philosophy, while there are other philosophies and growth mechanisms which are adopted by brand, these are stats by AppsFlyer, one of the leading analytics player, and what they have said that this is 2020 versus 2019. As far as the retention rates are concerned, it has been consistently the same. So on day 1, you will see that there is around about 25% retention. Day 30 is like 4.2% retention. But all in all, you will see that there is a dip which is happening. So during the pandemic times, we have seen that there is a rise in engagement, but there has been a lot of brands who have adopted PLG. There have been a lot of brands who have innovated and gone to the digital platform. So there are like a lot of competition, a lot of options they have in the industry. And finally, because of this, the consistency as far as the retention rates are concerned has been the same. So it becomes even more critical for a brand to adopt PLG as a concept. Okay, talking about a specific journey when a user gets into your platform, so one part is, they enter your platform via various acquisition channels, be it, let's say, a search, social media, organic, or paid, or whatever, right? So they come to your channel, and based on that, there is an onboarding cycle. So when I say onboarding, what I mean is that how are they able to see the value immediately? What is that metric you have for activation? Like in case of Netflix, it's about that free trial they have for 30 days, right? So that's the activation that they ideally want. Likewise, post the activation, how interesting they can engage. Many brands, they adopt machine learning here so that they can be very, very to the point when they even suggest ideas, suggest kind of products to the user or services to the user, which are very, very well orchestrated based on their very recent behavior. And this has to be also different for the existing set of users who are also coming. So engagement is at the center of it, and the treatment to the new user versus an existing user has to be different, right? It is, and I think it is very evident, right? The behavior that we see for the user who are like recently come in, they might want to check out something which is on the marketing side you have been promoting, versus an existing user who have already experienced a lot of it. They would like to see what more they can explore, right? So there is the depth of engagement versus the the breadth of engagement which sort of differentiates. And finally, it leads to retention. At the end of the day, we need retention. And for retention, what is our primary goal is loyalty. Because we want them, every time they come to our platform, we have to keep giving them reason that why they should come. And this could be via offer, this could be via, like I said, depth of engagement and breadth of engagement, and you keep them engaged with that. And finally, referral. So a user who comes to the zone of finally referring you is where I think you have got the maximum loyalty. I think that's where I have few examples in my coming slide, and I'll talk about it, where a lot of brands, because of referrals, they've gone viral. And it's a loop which keeps going. All right, so before I move forward, this is one interesting philosophy that I would also like to talk about, which to do with a straight line onboarding. I think a lot of you, my audience who are there on the call, would have visited malls prior to pandemic, and would have played bowling. And in bowling, you would want to hit that strike. You want to get that maximum score. So you will see that you have that straight line in the center, which you see here, which is being mentioned here, which is the straight line. Now that is basically to guide the customer so that they are able to hit the strike if they throw the ball straight. Okay, so if they are this is to guide the user so that they get a very straight line value, which is hitting the strike. So that's basically what we have to do. We have to guide the user. We have to nudge the user to the right direction, how they can get the maximum value. And in the kids alley, what you would have also seen, there are bumpers. Otherwise, there are, on the adult section, there are gutters, right? So if you throw the ball might even go to gutter. So in the kids section, we want them to, even have a better experience. So there are no gutters. At least they are able to, have some numbers on the board. So that's where they are able to, hit. And that's where these conversational bumpers, in case of our engagement, could be in case of emails, SMS, or product bumpers, in case of tooltips, become super critical for the users who are dropping from the funnel. So it's very, very important for us to understand that, having a onboarding cycle, which is giving a very immediate value to the customer, will give us that maximum retention. And that's where we have to follow this. Okay, retention is also pretty much important. It is that, very effective after effect, which comes with the three very, very important point. And I really, really wanted to share, aspects of this slide, which is about, great user engagement, better feature discovery, and forming the habit loops, right? So if a user has been coming to your app again and again, it means they are seeing the great user engagement via maybe conversational bumpers, product tooltips, seeing value every time they come. Easily they are able to discover new features. They are being guided to those features very effectively. And finally, they are creating that kind of habit loops. A lot of brands, when I have spoken to them, they have said that it's a specific kind of a feature which is not their hero feature, but then people come and they would like to also monetize that and also effectively engage with that. So that's where it becomes like really important to form those kind of habit loops and identify those trends. So how are brands doing this? I think let's get into those examples zone here. So first of all, let me talk about how Instagram is using it. And that's where we have this interesting example where you download the Instagram for the very first time. You have this interesting tooltips which guides you and say that, hey, this is where you should come back and, scroll and see what your friends are doing. And, you can see that what are the very latest things that they have done, which is on the lines of, on the videos, on the photos and the GIFs is where they can see that. And finally, they could also engage themselves, which is, adding the photo. So first of all, they get the user to experience the platform. And the second part is then they also give them the option to also add the videos, photos, and the functions around that. And then there are, and this is a quick ride hailing example, which is where, when a person is trying to go for a ride, it is also saying that, hey, you could add a credit card or a debit card. This is coming at the right time, right? When they are about to pay is where they say that it can be hassle-free via a credit or a debit card payment that you can do. So activation is the only goal. And if you see in all these examples is where you will see brands are going for activation. They are seeing how they can maintain that kind of stickiness with the user by giving them reasons, by, in case of Instagram, by having users upload photos, in case of this quick ride hailing app, asking user to add a credit card or debit card details. Okay, driving user engagement, and I think I've spoken a bit on this, but it is all about having those meaningful actions in your product again and again, and keep showing more value and in a very different way. And how do you do that? There are certain engagement frameworks, and I'll talk about that. One is breadth of the engagement. Okay, specifically for the users who have new, who are new to the platform or to your app, is where the breadth of the engagement becomes like really important, where you can guide the user and tell them, hey, this is what more we have. Like, hey, you can come to Zomato and you can, order pizzas, or you could order food, but you could also visit restaurants and see which restaurants which are listed on our app. And there are more things. I mean, there are more features. Every app in the today's world, they have it. It's just about, setting the right framework of defining the breadth. Second is depth. Users who reiteratively come to our app, right, and they keep coming and they keep engaging, is where I think depth is very important. Like e-commerce, what they do is they show recommendations, right, and recommendations which keeps improving. In case of Amazon, if you go there, they're very well orchestrated based on your past behavior, which is based on the products that you would have viewed, on the videos that you would have seen in case of Amazon Prime, and they give you, I think OTT and e-commerce are really killing it when it comes to the depth of engagement. And I think every brand has to get into that zone of defining the depth. And the third is frequency of the engagement, is where we need to ensure, one is we constantly keep them engaged, but doesn't mean we also overkill it, right? So there's like too many notifications or emails or, any sort of engagement which is offsite can also like bother the user. So we need to define the right frequency, be it the on-site engagement on your app and platform, or be it the off-site engagement on any of the channels via which you engage with your customers. Let's get into a few examples now. So this is about one of the leading fantasy gaming app called MPL, and what they do is, so they have this specific user segment. They know our loyal customers, and when they have a new app, a new game, whenever they add, they release it to a specific segment of users. This one, let's say, and they see whether are they able to get that right kind of engagement, and post that they have it delivered to the larger audience. Is where they highlight it and say that, hey, this is a new game which has come in. So did you try this new game? Is the tooltip which is shown to the existing the segmented users, and to the larger audience it says enjoy the new game. And likewise, location based is also seen effectively. For example, MPL, when it comes to India, which is very cricket loving country, okay, that's where they will show a lot of fantasy gaming options around crickets. And likewise, other countries, there could be football, there could be hockey, there could be basketball, baseball, and based on the preferred sport in that country, it will highlight that. Second is about this is about driving the user engagement, and somewhere talks about the depth of it, is where you will see that there is get to watch faster option which is given by Facebook. So Facebook always was known for social media. But now, if I go and ask my mom, she majorly is into a lot of these videos which is shown by Facebook. It's like, endless scroll of lot of videos which is shown by them. So that's where they are again getting these users back to their platform and giving them a reason why they should continue with Facebook. Likewise, this interesting app called Calm, which is for meditation and a lot of those mind relaxing exercises. So that's where they have this added function, which is about, you could set up reminders, where you could set up reminders and they will remind you that, it's time to meditate or it's time to sleep and so on. So that's where they set these reminders very easily. So hypothesis is nudge users to set daily reminders to increase retention, and experiment which ran and then they ran this for a specific set of users. You saw this in case of MPL as well. And finally, you see a result, which could be 2x, 3x, or could be, in case maybe it could be negative as well, right? But at the end of the day, you have to keep experimenting and also understanding. Majorly, we see positive responses coming from these experiments, but the whole idea is to keep, test, measure, and learn. Okay, the final part, which is in this, is the growth loop through referrals. So word of mouth, and I'm sure a lot of you guys on the call right now would have experienced how the word of mouth can be like superbly powerful. I mean, it is every brand has it, right? Every brand have this viral loop referrals factor, but then not everyone is using it that effectively. That's where I think some of the brand examples that I'm going to show you right now is they have done it effectively. I mean, and you have to find the right moment when you have to also start suggesting this. For example, Airbnb. So when you uh, when you book a place with Airbnb and you have already experienced how the how you have been serviced via Airbnb, that's where they give you this option to also refer, and you can refer your friend while that is there, right? So post transaction, if you're a happy customer, only then they give you this option to refer. So when you refer and it is being sent to your friend, when the friend clicks on that and they come to the landing page, there again you will see that the landing page is also very much personalized. It says, Peter gave you $35 to travel, would you like to go for it? And the CTA button is also pretty interesting, saying that sign up to claim your credit. That's where the whole experience for the referral and the referee both is very well customized. So depth of the engagement along with hyper personalization. How we work in all this is Netcore. At Netcore, we have this complete no-code framework of how we can set up these kind of product experiences for a lot of these product managers. And the whole idea is to give a lot of agility with zero code to be written while we deploy some of these experiences inside the app. In this, we have this contextual walkthroughs and nudges, which is which is basically onboarding, activation, and feature discovery to the most segmented and the personalized approach that we can have. Be it tool tips, be it beacons, be it a lot of spotlights or NPS, which is post transaction feedback, could be like easily set up. Second part is A/B testing. So it's very important, like what MPL did was also defining how the orchestration of their homepage widgets has to be or the cards has to be. That's where they experimented interestingly, and they could get a lot of results as far as engagement is concerned. That's where we also help you these kind of in-app experiments of UI, UX, content, widgets, be it web app, anywhere. Finally, feedbacks and service, NPS. I think it's very important to not just get a quantitative feedback, but a very qualitative feedback in understanding why. So we have a framework where we can not just get a rating, but also a very text kind of a feedback to understand why brands would generally go for it, why customers are happy or unhappy about it. And finally, feature releases, which is when we do these feature releases, there are again a lot of reiteration based on customer responses. It's again we have a function which will ensure that there are mechanisms set for you to ensure that there are not many app releases required when you do a feature release, and it can be completely controlled from the platform itself. So it's a quick video that also we wanted to show you. We spoke of nudges, right? And this is how easily we could do it from a no-code platform from our from Netcore's platform. This is where a quick recording we wanted to show you. It will take like 2 minutes, and here this is the framework where you completely orchestrate, define who are the users, define your rollout strategy, and define the percentage to whom it should show and not show, and basis that you could there is a laundry list of a lot of these templates which are exposed to you, out of which you could select. A simple mirroring can happen where any of one of your phones can be defined as a test app, which you could just simply mirror and download that screen, and on that specific screen, whatever elements are there, the complete view hierarchy of that screen gets downloaded on our platform. And as you see on the scroll activity, you are able to see a lot of these elements, and then it becomes very convenient. So defining the correct brand guidelines, which is to do with text, color, CTA, font, everything is made very convenient for you to also ensure that it resonates with your brand guidelines. Also, we could personalize this with first name, discount coupon codes, product names, PRID. I mean, so that even not just the context, but also the message which is being shown looks very, very personalized in regards to how we communicate with users. And then it's about an easy deployment, which is about, this is the canvas where you set it up, and then you define your trigger activities, and at a click of a button, then it makes it very convenient to release it on the set of users that you want to do. And the best part is no app release is required, no code, as you see the whole setup was. So audience that we have on the call, I would very interestingly would also like to know from you all, how would you like to also maybe see and experience this by yourself. So maybe you can say yes on the screen, just type yes on the chat box. And the final part is, guys, we work with a lot of these brands. We have experiences of more than 23 years in this segment. We have been working with some of the largest marquee brands. If we talk about Indonesia, there is Smartfriend, Payfaz, Gojek company called Mapan. There is Flip, Creditbook, Mcash. So there's this wide experience from the growth companies we see in the market, and they're expanding big time. And we are happy to say that we are part of their growth journey. So all right, so that was the first part, right, which was on the giving you a complete guidance of how some of these app first companies are working as far as the this contextual nudges walkthroughs are concerned. And now guys, we are joined by Esther, Mayank, and Chiranjeevi, who are also there on the call, and we would like to have a ongoing conversation with them in regards to how further we can engage. So Esther, Mayank, Chiranjeevi, why don't you come on the why don't you open your video, and we can see you all. So I thought of maybe introducing myself to what Esther does, what Chiranjeevi does, what Mayank does. But at best, it would be if they can introduce themselves, so that the audience get that kind of familiarity with all of them. So we can start with the other Mayank from Domino's. So Mayank, over to you. A quick introduction from you, and then we can go to Esther and then Chiranjeevi.
Thanks, Mayank. Hello and namaste to all the co-panelists and the listeners and viewers. As Mayank informed, I'm the another Mayank. So my name is Mayank Singh. I am heading the marketing and technology for Domino's Pizza Indonesia. I've been here in Indonesia from last 3 years. And prior to this, I was working with a media company, Z, where I was trying to run a food tech. Before that, I have been also associated with other 2 media companies, Times and NDTV. And one of the other, my association was with Domino's India, where I am known for setting up the e-commerce for Domino's India, the first hyper-local food tech business in India. That's my small introduction.
Thank you so much, Mayank. Esther, over to you.
Thank you, Mayank. Hi, everybody. My name is Esther. I'm head of product in Paxel. Through the technologies delivered by many great Paxelians, Paxel is the pioneer in the same-day delivery who focus on customer-centric. However, big or small things we do is to fulfill what customer need, basically to let them have an easy life and earn more and faster. So I'm here in Paxel only for starting 3 years now and still ongoing. Nice to meet you all.
Awesome. Chiranjeevi, or we famously call you Chiru. Over to you.
Thank you, Mayank. Hello, guys. This is Chiru. Currently, I'm heading the product team at Mapan. Mapan is basically trying to empower the rural women in Indonesia. Like, rural women in Indonesia, they might not have a lot of technology access, not a lot of education, but still they want to be productive being at home. They want to contribute to some part of the financial needs for the family. So Mapan tries to help them to sell the products to their neighbors. It's kind of agent play or influencer play. I joined here a couple of years back. And then before that, I was with Citibank, Ant Financial, and DBS in Singapore. Yeah, I come from technology background. I come from India. So I began my career as an engineer, and then I transitioned into product management. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chiru. So guys, let's get started. So we spoke a lot on user experiences. I think that's what I covered majorly in my slides. So I think my first question is primarily to understand, and I think our audience would be eager to know. So post acquisition of the user, what is your checklist for drafting a user experience inside the app? And if you could also maybe define it by saying how is it done differently for a new user versus a returning user. So maybe Esther, we can start with you, and then Mayank and Chiru could also contribute.
Okay, thank you, Mayank. Thank you. Well, for Paxel, actually, the hard work is finding out what is really causing them to churning first. We learn a lot from our customers. Example, when we ask them, what is the most painful thing to do while creating a shipment? They simply said that it is the addressing part. Okay, you all know we're sitting here. My house is here in District A, while your neighbor across the road may be in a different district, but we are on the same road. So here in Indonesia, front side, but different zip code maybe. So we took those feedback, we listened to that feedback, and we deliver a couple of innovation on the addressing part. And then on the Axel app, it's a fully self-empowered app where our new user, upon installing the app, they can freely browse, try their first experience without any hassle. They can decide when and where the package is going to be picked up and delivered. And later, they can also return back, still as a guest, or they can register and be the member of Paxel to get more benefits. In each and every journey of that new user or returning user, both on the product side or on the services side, but personalized and contextual for new and returning users. That's what we do. Basically, we just learn from the customer, and we have it done very personally and contextually for them.
Interesting, Esther, taking feedback and then reiteratively doing those changes are interesting to know. Yeah, Mayank, what are your thoughts on that?
So I will have, Esther has been saying rightly, but my two bits about it, this whole new and returning is actually different for a different industry, and it changes, the definition itself changes from industry to industry and the kind of business you operate in. And the right mix is also not, there's no right mix to it, because so suppose if I have to say new user, for me new user can be defined into multiple ways. One is the new user who is first time going to order Domino's, and that too through a Domino's app. Or there could be a new user who has experienced the Domino's on any other channel, and then he's experiencing on the app for the first time. So there are two sets of new user. Same is when it comes to the returning user. The returning user, again, what kinds of frequency the user has been part of into the segments that we have made. So we have single frequency user, low frequency user, medium frequency, and high. And these are the different kind of returning users who are coming to me on my app, because the frequency of their purchase is also different. So first I should know what is the frequency, the global frequency of my customer. So if I try to build something and try to push him, I think my ROI would not come, because that's not the experience how a user shows on to the Domino's environment in terms of making a purchase. Now, when this core definition is set it up, then we look at from a perspective of where is the user, has he completed the journey or where he has exited the journey. And that gives us a lot of input in terms of data to understand and analyze where has been those funnel points, like how we say funnel. I was seeing your presentation when you were talking about those nudges, and even we are going to try your product, because that's one area where you can do quickly how to utilize those nudges in terms of changing the behavior. But that's where I have to observe in terms of, because when you are making an order with Domino's, we are known for 30 minutes delivery guarantee, and there is a process which is involved into giving a 30 minutes delivery guarantee, wherein I need to know your address. That address has to be part of my area where I deliver, because I have to give you 30 minutes delivery guarantee. Otherwise, I have to clearly say that I cannot deliver in this. This is not the zone. This is not the address which is part of our zone. Now, when I'm understanding the journey, I have to see from the perspective who are the user who dropped because they were part of my area or who were not part of my area, and whether they were able to identify their addresses or not. So these are the data points that we collect, and then we try to streamline where are these drops and how can we follow back. Plus, again, when it comes to the new and existing users. There are various programs that we have in a system. So we already have marketing automation programs. So a user who have already added an address and he didn't place an order, then there is a program which automatically went and start to reach out to the customer, give him the right kind of communication, probably an offer, guiding them that here's an offer for you. You just missed, you already are part of this location, and then why don't you just complete your order? Someone who dropped from the card, someone who dropped from the payment page, and same is for the returning customer also, because he has been returning. So his offer would be a different from a customer who is new. So new customer would have a slightly aggressive offer. A returning customer would have a diluted offer. So that's the journey that we build for these different kind of customer segments that we capture into the app.
Pretty awesome, Mayank. I do have a follow-up question on the point which you made, but I'll come to you a little later. Chiranjeevi, what's your take on this?
Okay, Mayank. I kind of have some similarities with what Mayank Singh said about understanding the user and how do we define the new user. For us, understanding the user was a bit difficult because we serve to the rural Indonesia. And this segment, some women are actually educated. They pass their SSC or class of 10th, and some have not even done that. And their lifestyle today is married with 2 kids between the age of 25 to 45, their age range. And when we onboard them, the surroundings of them, right? It's not only just the onboarding that happens in the app on the mobile smartphone. What we also consider is what is happening outside, because she's a housewife. She needs to take care of the household chores. She has a couple of kids. And usually when we do field visit to our customers, they have a lot of things going on behind them. Probably their in-laws are asking, hey, can you give me tea or coffee? Or a husband might be asking like, hey, can you cook my meal for the day? Or maybe she's running a small war room or a kirana store in India, we call it. And she might be selling something to their neighbors. So when she opens the app, there are a lot of distractions that are possible. And onboarding a new user is always challenging. It starts with why they join the app. What is the primary purpose of the app itself, right? There's a goal to the product itself, like what is the problem we are trying to solve for the new user, for example. Maybe in our case, user joined to earn some extra income. So our job is to onboard for that primarily and understand and help them on the way. Fortunately or unfortunately, the technologies have not been great before getting to Netcore and Hansel platforms. So we tried various different methods of onboarding, like nudging them screen by screen. Hey, this is your input mobile number screen. This is your OTP screen, and all of it. But somewhere we were not able to identify which journey or what is the best way to get this onboarding done. So that's where we use these tools to understand which journey is doing best, like A/B testing, like you mentioned in the presentation. We try to understand where is a user needing more focus. Like I said, if the kids come and disturb the mother, then she's actually off track. She lost the focus of until where she is onboarded. So we then use screen by screen kind of onboarding, and also we don't dump everything in one shot. We kind of do contextual and inline onboarding. So if the user comes into that screen, then we try to educate them about what is it and how can they earn income with the app or the product that we built. For the repeat users, it's a big challenge for the repeat users because there are multiple types of repeat users. First thing that we tried to do was to segment them, cluster them. So we used data science clustering methodology there to understand different segments of the users and customers. And then we try to understand the behaviors. Like, there is like Mayank Singh said, there's a less frequent users, there's a more frequent user. So how is the behavior difference between the less frequent users versus the more frequent users? We try to understand the differences. And once we understand that, as per the product fundamentals, we go back to the product discovery, where we try to go to some research, get some qualitative feedback and do surveys, and then try ideating some solutions, then hypothesis testing, and then subsequently launching. Yeah, it's a big process. It's hard to summarize in 1 or 2 minutes, but yeah, that's how we deal with it, Mayank.
But interesting. I mean, the stories that you've just explained about, how the real customer actually is really understandable on the lines that the struggle we have generally to actually get that market insight in regards to how do we do those reiterations. Interesting. Mayank, the follow-up question that I had for you, and I think Chiranjeevi, part of it he had answered. when you it's all about pizzas, right? So majorly it's the frontline product is like pretty straightforward, right? So as far as the depth of engagement is concerned, while you understand the frequency and all that, so do you like apply machine learning there to uh, see what kind of frequencies they have? Because every customer, while you can segment them out, but at the end of the day, the more one-on-one experience makes a key difference there. So how do you generally do that? How do you define depth of engagement, and how do you engage with your customers better?
So one is I would say like how Mapan use the machine learning, same as the way Domino's also uses the machine learning in terms of segmenting those users. Now the machine learning prime objective is to find out the right propensity user
Right.
to be communicated in terms that delivers you a better ROI. Because even if you need to deliver a message, communicate a user to do a certain act, there is a cost involved. Those costs can be in form of the communication messages that you're trying to reach them out through email, WhatsApp, push notification, SMS, and everything as a cost. So if you are blasting to a full segment, maybe there would be certain percentage who would end up converting, and that conversion depends on what cost you implemented to do that conversion. So we do have a machine learning wherein we use the set of consumer to identify who are the highest propensity user on a given time, given day, and with what communication we should be reaching them out. And this combination is set of, again, we have machine learning algo to come up, find out what are these behaviors they are attributing. Now these behaviors, so one is the simple segmentation that everyone does, which is recency, frequency, monetization. We go to the next level to identify the behavioral segmentation. Now these behavioral segmentation are dependent on what time he was ordering, what is the ticket size, what has been his frequency, what kind of product he has been showing interest in. So suppose even it's not just one pizza. A pizza could be a chicken pizza, it could be a beef pizza, it could be veg pizza, high on cheese, lesser on the spice, more on the spicier side. Yeah, so those kinds of bucketed, those parameters are used, and then we kind of use algo to find out the distinguished behavioral segments, and then these distinguished behavioral segments are being reached out.
Interesting to get details on this. Now I know what really
happens. As Chiru said, that
problem.
it's very hard to explain in 2 minutes, but it's a lot goes into it in terms of the processes which are involved.
I get
yeah.
All right. So my next question is Esther, to you to start with. So there is a lot of conversations which happens on dropping off the funnel and then churning off. So and there are a lot of things that we do to ensure that drop off in the funnel and then churning is not happening. But what, according to you, is the next big mode of engagement or solution for the industry that is going to address this problem?
Okay. Upon it earlier in the previous question, the focus is to find out why they are churning out, right? That's the hard work. And then we also have to understand that we have to know and understand what the customer is looking for to accomplish. And in Paxel, we are marrying the online and offline experience. We are here, Paxel is here because our customers say that they are happy and trust Paxel, that we can deliver safely and right on time. So from there we learn from the customer what are our strengths and where to improve. Example, I'll give you an example. They trust us to give frozen food from Semarang to Jakarta, let's say. Delivering food has its own challenges. I'm sure Mayang Singh can relate to that. It is time sensitive, easy to be spoiled if the temperature changes, and then it's fragile, right? Hence, we must support with the infrastructure. We provide that level of assurance on the field where our hero, by the way, we call our courier as happiness hero, where our hero will ensure the packaging given by the sender is following our TNC. And then our hero will put label on it, that is a food package, let's say. While it's being delivered to Jakarta, we provide a clear tracking on the app of the statuses. And we also inform them what is the temperature for each facility. Okay, by having that, not only we gain more trust from the customers, we also increase the engagement level on the app and having higher retention rate. So I think the next big mode in the engagement in this industry is to deliver what the customer value with excellence.
I think Esther, you made a very interesting point, which is trust, right? So how we can get that trust here. And I think Zomato, specifically, I see whenever I order from Zomato, the their hero, their happiness hero who delivers my food, they have the mentioned, like when was the last, what was his temperature, and when was it tested last. So that gives me a trust that, you know, the person who is coming, and they say that they all the courier, all the guys who is going to deliver your food, those delivery agents are completely vaccinated. So that also gives that kind of trust. So, you know, moving things based on the dynamics that we see in the market is like really important. So I think great point made on that. Yeah, Chiru, over to you. Maybe on the same question, what's your take
on the churning off, right?
Yeah, yes, Chiru.
Yeah, all right. I think one of the key thing that we need to define is, I think the retention part, Mayank, in the sense when we call the user churned off based on the behavior and also the purpose of the app itself. Let's say we have WhatsApp or Facebook, which are very social app in nature, which the expectation of the usage is daily or maybe very frequent. So if the user doesn't open the app once in a day or twice in a day, maybe then that's called churned off. For the commerce apps, maybe when the user doesn't transact or when the user doesn't browse the catalog, maybe that can be called as a churn off. So I think the fundamentals is to understand how do we actually understand what is the definition of the retention or the churn, and then we need to get into the details of the funnel itself. For example, we go through a lot of data. Where did the user drop off? Is it tagged to cart or is it tagged to probably checkout or payments? So we need to deep dive into that and eventually come out with, again, product discovery parts of it, understanding the rationale behind it, the research and all of it. But in short, I think there is no one solution. I don't personally think there's one solution that fits all. It's all depending on the company's strategy and the vision. How do we align the churn off with churn off solutions to the company vision and mission? For example, TikTok is a social media, so video engagement platform could be the best solution for them. For the e-commerce, maybe that's not the way how to deal with things. Amazon and other have already done the commerce in a great way. So that's my take, Mayank.
Yeah, interesting. Another question that I have, and guys, before I move forward, just wanted to announce that, audience, we are open to pick questions from you guys as well. So if you have something for our panelists here, please shoot, put it in the chat window, and we will be happy to take that up. All right, so moving on to the next question. So specifically, this is to do with Indonesia market, which has come from another lockdown, and it is now finally opening up. So pandemic is everywhere declining. People are getting vaccinated. We see the speed of people getting vaccinated from this. So this might again impact the overall user behavior. People will start going out again. They will start experiencing what was there outside finally. Right. So this might again change the user behavior. So what all strategies you would have adopted for this? I'll start with you, Mayank, on this.
Yeah. So on this, hearing your question reminds me a very important meme that was being circulated when the pandemic started. That meme was about who brought the digital transformation within your organization. And the answer was it's not the CDO, CTO, or the CMO. It was actually the coronavirus. So having said that, so what has happened over this last 2 years is that the adoption to digital has increased, and primarily it has increased in terms of the delivery as a business, specifically for our retail companies like us. So the delivery has so Domino's was always into the digital side, but many of the companies have come up and the digital behavior improved. So the user got more adapted to the use of digital. And that's one started. So now you can say you are into a period where the adoption has already happened and people have become habitual of using these digital tools like the apps that we have for the customer to place a delivery order. From a Domino's perspective, that's not the only channel. Now the pandemic is going out, and then the people will start coming back onto the roads, and the other channels will also get they will get their share back. So which is suppose the carry out, which is pickup, takeaway, dining. Now for us as to think from a digital strategy perspective, the important strategy is that now the customer is already adopted. How to ensure that the same digital customer remains the digital customer in any other channel which they are probably doing a transaction with us.
Yeah.
So we are already working on how to improve. So the carry out option is already there in my app. He can still do the carry out, but is it the right way? Because that was never our focus. So how can I improvise the whole takeaway experience through an app when a customer comes to a doorstep to do a takeaway? So that's one of the interesting strategy which is working, because then it will help us to take a share pie, a slice of the business from the takeaway traditional conventional business to a digital business, and improvising his journey would be a biggest challenge for us, and that's where our focus is in terms of the strategy.
So Chiru, maybe the same question to you as well, since your market is like slightly different when it comes to Indonesia. So what's your take on this? Do you see that impacting your business?
Yeah, initially it significantly impacted Mayank. I think we were not sure whether our users will be able to have any affordability to purchase the items that we're trying to sell and all. But the best part, like Mayank said, the biggest digital innovation happened in our segment because of the pandemic, and not majorly not because of pandemic, majorly because of the school from homing. So kids have to school from home, and hence our segment, the mothers of the housewives and all, they actually have to come on to smartphones. They have to start using the digital technology to school their kids from the home. So that brought us some new area of potential opportunities. So what we did, and the way kind of the strategy that we wanted to go in is try to leverage the digital adoption in the rural segment. So currently we are kind of agent play, influencer play. Is there also potential to get the end consumers, because they also might have already the smartphones in their hands, right? So that's a kind of direction, and strategically, I think that all the apps are moving right now. Not just I think Mapan, I think everywhere people are trying to leverage the digital disruption or technology adoption that has taken place because of the pandemic. I think people are seeing that as opportunity rather than a problem, I think, at this point of time.
Right. Well, definitely it is. We just wanted to understand what's the real ground reality while we see it from the from the air, like what it could be. So happy to have that realization from both of you. Esther, we'll pick one question for you from the audience. So the question is, one second, let me just pull that up. So the question is, what according to you are the two biggest hurdles when it comes to acquisition and retention separately? So there are like two questions here. Biggest hurdle that you face when it comes to user acquisition and user retention.
The biggest problem?
Yeah, biggest hurdle, biggest problem. Exactly. Yes.
Well, the biggest problem would be to have them get onboarded first, right? But in Paxel, the case is we have a higher referral rate. So word of mouth from in Paxel is very high. That's why we gain the organic more highly than the non-organic. And then with the high word of mouth, as I said earlier, the retention rate is also increased. So the biggest problem is to ensuring that people are keep on shouting about you in good way, I would say. Then it will automatically give a best acquiring and retention.
Okay, interesting. Same if I ask you, Mayank, what's your take on this?
So biggest problem. So there
maybe also maybe also tell us what you do to also resolve these, so that people can also get ideas from your experience.
Sure. Yeah. I would say, Mayank, the both acquisition or retention, they are never-ending problem for any business.
True that.
If you think that you can solve it, then the answer is no. It's actually not a problem. It's a journey that you have to deal day to day in your life. The whole point is, how are you going to deal with it? Like my problem is the biggest problem in terms of when I have to go for acquisition of a customer. So my acquisition of the customer is not that I have to acquire a customer from the market who is into the same competition zone. So suppose I have a direct competition, but I do have indirect competition also, like one of the brand whose subsidiary is sitting next to us, which is Chiru. So Gojek becomes my biggest competition when it comes to the acquisition. And how I'm going to deal with that acquisition is again is a problem to me. But then we have our own ways of dealing with it. So getting the right targeting or the right set of consumer and getting the right communication is the key. And that's where we use a lot of data analytics to work in. So I already know what kind of customer are sitting on my app, what has been their behavior, what are their likings, not and what kind of attributes they show. I can always use their behavioral data, create a pool of data, and when I'm targeting the newer customer, they could be a lookalike customer of the same customer set into a broader audience. That's one way to deal with the acquisition of customers. The second is for Domino's. I have to, if I'm acquiring a customer, the best place to acquire a customer is not to go outside, but to acquire in my own data pool. I already have a customer who is not ordering through the app, but they're ordering through other channel. So why not to first start at my home and start acquiring them to start using the app? That also becomes one of the acquisition. And retention is a biggest journey. You will have to keep changing, keep working, and create. And the best way is to keep creating newer and newer tracks and find out which track is performing better and which is not, and keep removing it. So one of the job of our analytical company is to keep creating newer segments basis the behavior mix plus the recency frequency mix. And once you create those track, test it out, which is working, not working, the one which is giving better ROI in terms of reaching them out and the conversion, then you keep trying them, keep expanding that pool. And the one which is not, you keep churning that kind of track, and so on and so forth.
Right. Awesome. Guys, so we sort of come to the end of our webinar. So the last question I have for all three of you. So one by one, we can answer that. So I would like to know what is your North Star metric that you measure for best retention, and once achieved, how would you describe it as per your favorite superhero? How do you do that? Maybe we'll start with you, Mayank.
So Mayank, I will not say one. I have so there are two equivalent metrics because they both fall into different zones. So one metric, which is a North Star metric, is the conversion metrics, which is true for everyone. How many users, whether returning new, which is coming, and then they are converting, and how have you been able to improve the rate of conversion on your app becomes the key metrics for any app. So that's one. The other most important metric for me is because as I was telling, there is a different kind of user in terms of new and returning. So when I segment them, so single frequency user is the biggest chunk of the user, which everyone would always have. How can you reduce the sequence? So reduction in terms of the contribution of the single frequency user on my platform is my biggest target, because that's how any MarTech platform, if I'm going to use, the success is defined by how many single frequency user has been converted to the other frequency user type, and that increases my frequency. So that's one. And if I achieve it, then I would say that I would like to quote what with my favorite this superhero, and it's a cartoon character, which is Kung Fu Panda. And I would remember the quote when he comes out of his training, and the Shifu says, "You did well, Panda." And the response to it was, "I did well. I did awesome." So that's the response I'll give it.
Awesome. You did awesome, Mayank. All right, Chiru, over to you.
Okay, I'll try to give examples from probably the most known apps like Facebook and Amazon.
Yeah.
It ties back to the retention, ties back to the purpose of the product and what problem you're solving, right? So for Facebook, let's say the mission statement is to give people the power to build community and bring the world closer together. Now, bringing world closer together might mean something like conversations happening between people. So if I have to calculate the retention, probably my objective is to measure the conversations happening on the platform. Whereas for Amazon, the mission statement is to be earth's most customer-centric company to build a place where people can come and find anything that they want to buy online. So it's buying, it's transaction. So the retention definition here, or North Star metric, would be in terms of the transactions that the user might be willing to do. So we measure the month-on-month progress of the transactions, how many users are actually doing, and all of this. So that'll be this high-level explanation about how do we look at retention. For the characters or superhero characters, I don't have a reference, but what I can say is there is this one good talk from Kathy Sierra. She actually spoke many years back, a decade back, about how do you build your minimum viable badass user. She calls her user as badass user, and there's a purpose to it. Why she means it? She wants to look at the user benefits of what the user becomes after using your product. It's not while using your product or before using the product. It is not about benefits or rewards. It's about what does the user become after using your product. For example, WhatsApp. My father or my grandparents, when they were trying to use WhatsApp, they become better at communicating with their relatives who are distant. Otherwise, which is very difficult to contact on phone or other purposes. So that is how I think we actually think. I personally believe that superhero is the customer who actually becomes a superhero after using your product. Yep.
And and your superhero dialogue would be what once you achieve your North Star?
I think it is what we become.
What we become.
Yeah, that's the key thing.
Esther?
Yep. The North Star metric is LTV. Can see my young. It's a reflection of the Paxel core value, which is antarkan kebaikan. We are here to fulfill the needs of our customers, let them have an easy life, can earn more and faster because we're delivering it same day. And when it is fulfilled, achieved, then it will automatically the retention happen. And indirectly, we also contribute to the nation, right? Because their income is much faster and growth faster as well.
Yeah.
As for the superhero, I say it is the Avengers.
Awesome.
Because our couriers is the happiness heroes. Our Paxel employee is also a hero, which can be Iron Man with all the technologies created, and then can be Thor, can be maybe Vision. Each different super strength which combine and complete each other from the human and technology side. So I would say it's the Avengers.
Awesome. So, all right. And if I'm able to, be a good host to you all, I'll say that, what Captain America says, he says, I can do this all day. So if I've done a great job, I think that's what I would call out. So, all right. Thank you so much, Esther, Chiru, Mayank, for your time today. And one last poll we will have for the audience, where we would like to know if they would also like to experience Netcore's no-code platform, which is right now being experienced by Chiru, Mayank, and Esther in their frameworks to ensure that overall we are able to engage effectively. So we can have a quick voting. There is this vote which has been up on the screen right now. The question is, would you like to see Netcore's no-code growth marketing platform in action? So please give your options as yes or no, and we can have quick voting around that. Another 5 seconds, and I think we'll end this now. Thank you so much for your time, guys. I think very interesting inputs. I got to learn a lot from you all, and we'll keep interacting, we'll keep engaging. Thank you so much for your time today. Thank you, Esther. Thank you, Mayank. Thank you, Chiru. Our lovely audience.
Thank you, guys.
Stay safe.
Yeah.